Well, welcome to Entrepreneurship at Durham. My name's Ian Stone, and I'm a professorial fellow at the business school, and I'm leader of the entrepreneurship module. Durham in many ways is a natural home for this module because the school is internationally known for its teaching and research in this area. This really harks back to a time when it had one of the few centres for small business and entrepreneurship research. More than 40 years ago, I suppose, it was established, and indeed the business school really, in large part, grew out of that initial activity. In terms of the module, it's of great interest to anyone who wants to develop their understanding and skills relating to entrepreneurship. The module starts by setting entrepreneurship in its wider context, the way in which it contributes to economies, the way in which it contributes to the dynamism of economic systems. Particularly important at the moment because entrepreneurship is seen as an important ingredient for the UK and other countries to overcome problems that have arisen following the financial crises of recent years. And certainly as far as we're concerned in this country, it's seen as an important way of replacing the jobs in the private sector that are being lost in the public sector as a result of the cuts. The course goes on to examine the various contexts for entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship isn't just the heroic entrepreneur that we all recognise and see held up as demonstration models for us. It also includes the people who use entrepreneurial skills and entrepreneurial behaviour in the context of, for example, corporate venturing within companies, big companies, or high-tech university ventures, spin-outs and so on. Or even non-profit making social enterprises. The skills, the outlooks, the way in which entrepreneurs operate are all relevant to those different contexts. I suppose we start in a position where all of those different kinds of entrepreneurship would need to start. We start by exploring the notion of, well, you know, where do ideas come from? How do you spot an idea? And then move on from that to exploring and examining the ways in which you'd exploit that idea and convert it, as it were, into a practical business enterprise, business venture. We take advantage in the course, throughout the course, of case studies to show the range of possibilities and the way in which different people have tackled these sorts of problems and achieved this transition from an idea to a practical activity, a practical venture, actually successfully operating in the market. Another aspect of the course, of the module, is to identify is to explore the way in which entrepreneurial ventures change over time. They don't obviously remain the same. They move from being perhaps startups through to being sort of growing firms and ultimately towards more mature phases of development. Now, each of those phases involves different organisation, different leadership skills, different financial requirements and so on. So part of the course will be looking at these different phases of sort of entrepreneurial activity and the skills and the methods used for managing that growth process, that change process. Considerations also given to the broader environment. These organisations don't exist in isolation. They exist in relation to a wider world that influences the way they market. It influences their business strategies and so We particularly look at the policy environment, the regulation and policy environment, because government is always trying to influence the way that organisations behave, and particularly with regard to small businesses, trying to encourage more small business startups, and for those that have started up, to encourage them to grow and develop and export and so on. So we explore the ways in which governments intervene to do this. And this is an interesting sort of dimension, because of course the government is having to change the way and become more subtle and more nuanced in many ways in the way it tackles those issues. The course, as I say, you can tell from this brief summary, is a mixture of the theoretical, the findings from academic research, and the practical, and the experience involving the experience of entrepreneurs through a variety of case study material and so on. So it is a good mix of all of those elements. As I say, it's highly relevant to anyone interested in understanding, furthering their understanding of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, and of developing their skills in relation to this concept, and whether they want to use them practically to set up their own business, whether they want to use them in the context, as I've said earlier, of a larger company, of a larger organisation, or to develop a non-profit making social enterprise. But it's also relevant to people who are involved with entrepreneurial businesses, people who perhaps work in business support, consultancy type roles, working with such businesses, or in policy making, policy design, in those capacities. So it's relevant to a whole range of people, both within and working with the sort of entrepreneurs. So I look forward to seeing you engage with this course in the future. Thanks very much.